Righty-ho, if you've watched any of the other videos, you know I kept going on about having to sort these out. These are, as you can tell, sedums. The thing with these is that the ones we had, we kept in 2 big pots, and last year they started dying, and we weren't sure why. Originally, I thought it was something like crown rot, but it wasn't. As it turns out, the pots were full of vine weevils, and they'd eaten the roots and destroyed them. But before the plants completely died, it's kind of difficult to see on this one, they started sprouting all up the main sort of trunks or stems, if you like, little tiny plants. So we thought, right, well, we don't want to lose them, so we cut the stems up, and you can see on this one we just laid them on some pretty poor soil, really. It's sort of really sandy stuff, very free draining, and they've started to root. I will put some pictures on of what happened to the plant before we got to this stage, because if I'm honest, I did a lot of research and couldn't actually find a lot about what has caused the plant to do this. So I can only assume that it was a stress response to the vine weevils eating the roots or something like that. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is finally get around to potting them up. So I'm just going to tease a few out, and we'll see what we've got. We have to get the whole tray out. You see they've got quite a lot of roots on them. So I think what I'll probably do is just carefully as I can take them apart and pot them up in clumps. But you can see there are quite a lot of healthy plants on there. These little ones, they can go in as well. They may or may not survive, but they've got pretty good roots on them. There. You can see where they've come out from the stem. I mean, we could probably cut off the bits of stem that we don't want, but I might as well just pot them up as they are. I'm just going to separate them up a bit more so we see what we've got. This isn't how you usually do cuttings of sedums. Usually you cut the stems, strip off a few leaves and put them in a pot of compost, because they are basically a succulent. If you've ever grown succulents, you'll know that if a leaf drops off and stays in the pot for long enough, it will develop roots and start to grow. Well, you can see on there. So that's where it came out from the stem. The stem's all dried up now. It has got a pretty good root structure on it. See, a little plant. These little bits I will probably put back in those trays, maybe a little bit deeper so that the roots take better. Let's see what else we've got in here. That's more. You can see more clearly there. So if you imagine that was in the pot, probably that way up I think, and they all started coming out all the way up the stems. But as I said, we had a look online and couldn't really find much, if anything, of that happening. So we were a little bit puzzled. But anyway, I think putting them in the ground was the right thing, or putting them in these trays was the right thing to do, in terms of saving them. Not sure it was the right thing to do in terms of trying to get them apart again, but there you go. There's another little plant. Little roots on it. So what was 2 plants, because that's what we started with basically, has now turned into, well, however many we end up with. I think what I'll do with this clump though is I'll take the little ones off on each side, and I will either cut that one in half and put it in 2 different pots, or see if it'll go in one pot Not saying, but you can kind of see, if you look right in there, the original stem and all the roots on it. So, healthy little plant really. So I've got some little terracotta pots which probably be alright for them. Haven't really got a lot else at the moment because we've not been able to get out and buy any for obvious reasons, and I'm not even sure I can get that apart. So what I'm going to do is just snip it. So stem hollow, but it's obviously got lots of roots on it. So that's one plant for a pot. There's another one, and I'll do the same with the biggest ones. Probably put them in clumps. Might not use that one. Rather regal looking pot. Just the one that was in the garden. So to pot them up, it's fairly easy. Use up a pot with a crock in the bottom. Some soil. This stuff is shop bought compost with some of our own sieve topsoil in, because we've run out of sand, horticultural sand to put in, and stones for a bit of drainage, a bit of grip. And we'll just pop them in, some of that, and have little pots of sedums about the place. This one is called Autumn Joy, so it comes out with like a ready kind of flower. And they also look good once the flowers have died back, because they sort of retain their colour, and it's something interesting to look at in the autumn. There we go. Give them a water, but not too much, because I don't like to be too wet. And there you go. So that's what happened to our sedums. I will, like I said, put some pictures on that we took while it was actually happening, so that we could try and work out what was happening. And then we'll just do the same with the rest. And then when they get bigger, we'll put them in, you know, larger pots, or possibly even risk them in the ground. But that's that really. The rest of them, so any of the little bits like that, we'll put back in a tray, perhaps a bit deeper so the roots will take, and wait until they get to this, and then we'll pot them up, carry on. So it's not been a disaster. So from what was 2 plants, basically we've now got quite a few, and hopefully we'll keep the vine weevils out of them this time. And that's about that really. You can see that. Perfectly reasonable. I mean, I could, if I wanted to, split these and make several little plants, but I think they probably look better as a clump at the moment because they're not very big, and we can dot them around the garden and see how they get on really. So I'm just going to plonk it in like that. There we go. And they were shop bought. We paid standard shop prices for them when we got them, which is why we were a little annoyed that they started to die. But there you go. So that's about the size they were when we bought them, pretty much. As you can see, we've got those in there. We've got another clump here, and then if all these little ones take, we'll have even more. So ironically, what was looking like a disaster has turned out to be quite a success. So there you go. That's how we've rescued our sedums, and long may they continue. So thanks for watching.